Thank you.
Hi guys. Can you hear me okay? I thought it would be 3 of you, so forgive us for being a little bit...
All right,
so,
singing time.
So we were actually going to start this with the singing, and kind of like didn't know that we would be last, but we're going to talk about AI, data, and tooling. And back over this kind of makes that triangle. Who knows this song? Yes? So they have a feeling that tonight is going to be a good night. And there's this feeling of it. And when you look at the lyric, most people haven't seen the lyric. I myself am more for heavy metal. But you can see in the lyric there are some hints that tonight is going to be. He got the money. They're going to spend it, so that's part of it as well. They're going to go out and smash it, whatever this smash it is. And there's some jumping on the sofa, and and there's some drinking as well. And dancing, and then they're going to paint the town red and burn the roof. Not quite sure, but it's quite a lot of indication what it is. What this tonight is going to be a good night, and
Yeah, it is a feeling, and everybody thinks everybody's doing the right thing. We think we are building the right products for our customers. We think we are doing the right things in the organization. But yeah, if we are pretty honest with ourselves, most of the time it is just a feeling. So we think it is the right thing. Also, everybody wants to do the right thing.
Yes, so mind you, everybody goes to work like, I'm going to do the best thing. There's no one that I've ever met that's I'm going to do absolutely worst today, I'm going to just destroy this place. And so all of us are trying to do the right thing. And a little bit in the talk earlier, where you're saying, like, I had this idea of pushing against everything, and we just, I am doing the right thing. So, but like David said, it's not enough to have a feeling.
Absolutely not enough to have a feeling, and today we will tell to you how this could look like in an organization, that it's not just a feeling that you're building the right products for hopefully the right people out there, and how technology and data can support with that.
So, just to add on that, I'm sorry of being a bit like a jazz concert, because we're kind of not completely rehearsed like Pink Floyd, but it's kind of we have a little bit more conversation style. But I met people where we were in a project, and we'll introduce ourselves a little bit later, but I was in a project where they spent $500,000 to try to do something, and I met a product owner, and I asked, why are you guys doing this? And I was like, I have a feeling that my users would really like to have this. And it was just based on, I don't know, pain in his hip or something, because the weather was, strange that day or something. But in a business intent, it's just not enough to have the feeling. You need to have the data to back this up. And this is kind of what we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. We'll talk about data and tooling to help you to leverage what you already have in your organization, that operational data, to make those database decisions at the end, and ideally come to a stage where you can use AI. In our talk, this is more a strategic talk, so we don't talk about ChatGPT, any kind of plugins, any kind of which make your daily work, immediately a little bit better. We help you to oversee how an organization can go towards the AI space and how to approach the whole thing. All right, who we are? Hi, I'm David. I am working at HCL Technologies. It's a global outsourcer with 300,000 people, and I'm in there in the advisory part. We are helping organizations to steer change and also introduce technologies, but also the organizational change is very important. Coming from a background, from a startup background, scale-up background, and finally now in the big corporation background. And yeah.
Fun fact.
Fun fact. I was traveling around the world for more than 1 year in a row. So,
but that's the fun fact check.
Fun fact check. Yeah.
I'm called Frikkx, so I'm the owner of Frikkx.com. Full name is Frikkx Eyjolfsson. It's a little bit like Klingon for the rest of the world, since I'm Icelandic. My background, I actually started as a developer, started as a musician, and started making computer music. That got me into development, and let me, how do you say, into the corporate world. And I've worked as a developer, I worked as a PMO, as a product owner, and I've had to go through this like pain of scaling, where we implemented tooling and agile in the organization. I worked as a SAFe consultant. I understand the SAFe is not very popular here, but there is I had 2 startups, surprise, surprise, both of them regarding scaling agile and agile analytics. They went so well that I ended up at Broadcom. Actually, they went so well that I managed to spend all the money of it. But I ended up at Broadcom working as I have a job title as a solution engineer, which doesn't say anything what I do. I am a value stream management domain expert. That's kind of the fancy job title that I use to impress people. Fun fact about me, I own 20% in a gin factory in Iceland that is owned by the company. And so relating that back to Agile and those things. So I have always seen, when I look at Agile, this business agility is not enough that we have one team in the basement where we are doing Agile. You need to look at it as a whole, system thinking and all of those things. So what are the similarities between us, David?
Yeah, we know each other since 10 or 15 years now, and also we are working in different companies now. We are still close, and we kept the contact, and we also have been consulting for customers together. And I think what is similar for us is that we want to always look at the overall picture. So we don't want to optimize for a car the tires that the car gets faster, but really look at the whole picture, look at the whole car and how to optimize the system to get the car faster, not optimizing just the wheels.
The thing which I thought about, and this is kind of like improvising, that one of the things which we are quite lucky as for example, working for Broadcom, I get to go into different companies. It's almost like you get to go into different people's home and see how they're doing things. So seeing like how a humongous bank is doing this, how hospitality, IT companies are doing it. And it actually gives an insight to see maybe how dysfunctional everything is, maybe, but how different companies they do this, and they have solved this issue, and most of them are in this quest of trying to be get toward business agility. So, yep.
State of Agile. We are in a funny age right now, and there are several YouTube articles out there. Agile is dead. Agile is not dead, and we're talking about Agile 2.0, and there are Musk companies which do Agile in a completely different way, and so on. So we are also, as it was said today, we are unsure how agility will look like in future, but we think it needs to come. It is not everywhere, but it needs to come, and that's really awkward because there are those companies who are really good in being agile, and there are the other companies who are so far behind and it's struggling to ever catch up, probably.
So it just stays between us, what I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's just recorded.
Just between friends. Yeah. But when you see companies where they're like, oh, we've mastered Scrum with one team, and you're like, okay.
Do it.
Good for you. It's almost like we've figured out how to make fire to cook food. But then you start seeing these companies that are moving forward. For example, Amazon, Google, trying to compete with these companies. So you can always think about, oh, yeah, we're doing the best thing we can. But when you're competing with a company that's going to swallow up the world, they're moving maybe 60 times faster than you. And there's a colleague of mine, her motivation for what she does, he goes and talks to leaders of companies. She wants to help them to compete with the bigger companies, with the Googles of the world that have all the resources, and anyone that has gone and worked for Amazon, for example, they can see how fast they move. They just keep on going, they fail, they move on and figure out the next thing. So Agile is in a very particular state, and I actually think there was a cartoon that came, who wants to change? No, who wants to change? Everybody wants it, but they don't want to change. And you must have gone into companies saying, like, you need to change, and you need to change, and then someone points at you and says, like, you need to change, and you're like, whoa. No, I wouldn't go that far. So, but I'm sure, how to say, seeing, for example, Agile 2.0, flight paths, and these new things that are coming, that this is what is going to carry carry it forward, the practices. Mind you, we're starting to talk much more about value stream management now, which is, it's agile portfolio management and DevOps together, just end-to-end solution.
All right, similar interesting time with AI. We do not need to go in detail what AI is. There have been, I think, 3 or 4 talks at the last conference, and also today already some, I think, as well 2 talks regarding AI, ChatGPT, and other things. So we're not digging into that. But in general, just to sum it up, so there is some data available, there is some training algorithms, and then there is some output in general. And those who are using AI are progressing much faster than others. I think we leave it here. So
let me add in one thing. So the picture of this, I remember when I got access to the internet on my parents' computer. I'm that old. And I was struggling to understand what we would use this for. Because I was like, are we going to be downloading pictures of cats? No, it wasn't even cats, it was Superman or something like that. And I was wondering, like, what are we going to do with this? And then a few years later, we started shopping on it. And we couldn't even imagine that we would have done this. There was a company in Iceland that was trying to replicate the experience of how to shop for records. So they've done this virtualization where you go into a record store and you can do this with your hands, with a mouse. And this was kind of what they thought that the internet would be. We would replicate the outside world, but we went so far away from it. And I think the same thing is with AI. We're just scratching we're just seeing the surface of it. And if we talk about, the next slide, to using you as a clicker. But if we talk about the next slide, and mind you, bear with us if this is a basic. 10 years ago, we spoke about machine learning being the lowest level. Then we spoke about agile, artificial intelligence, and then we spoke about super intelligent. We needed to change what artificial intelligence is, because the goalposts kept changing. So we were always like, in the beginning, artificial intelligence is on human level. But now we have the machine learning that can beat humans in making decisions, but as well in games and other cognitive tasks. So we are on the lowest level. What we are doing now is just machine learning. I don't know, and mind you, it depends on the books that you read. Maybe you're going to get next step, which is the general artificial intelligence, where you have intelligence of a human capability. Mind you, as we are today, the machine learning can't tell you, and this will probably be fixed very soon, but it can't tell you how many R's are in a strawberry. It tells you it's 2 R's in strawberry. So we haven't reached this, and the science fictions, they are up there and further in this. I don't know if we're going to get this in our lifetime. Might be that we're going to just be stuck in this machine learning.
No. We will see that within the next 5-6 years, I think.
I'm from Iceland, so I'm more like, how to say, pessimistic. I don't see it happening. Yeah.
All right. How can you implement that in an organization? I think you need to approach it in an agile manner, and all of you are experts in doing that. So start small and iterate and learn with it. Nevertheless, there are plenty of consultants out there who preach, yes, you need to introduce AI because otherwise you're not competitive anymore. I think that is bullshit, more or less. So think about the use case, like it with regular agile things. Think about the use case you want to implement, and maybe AI is the appropriate tool to support you. Maybe it's some automation, maybe it's something else, it's a process change. But you should not start with, yes, we need to implement AI because otherwise we are getting left behind. Nobody should start like that.
But as well, if you think about it, how does it work? So AI needs data, lots of data. It's not enough. So if I would give David, I would say, like, I have a Scrum team. I'm not going to say they delivered 5 points last sprint. How many points are they going to deliver for, moving forward? How many people are going to be sick? He's not going to be able to answer that. And the same thing is with data. When you start thinking about the complexity of this, of historical data, it's not enough that you just come with, oh, this is my data. There's an Excel here. How did this Excel change over time? how has it been since the beginning? If you think about project, how they move these long projects to get any meaningful information about it, you would have to see the historical data moving forward at any given point. When were the risks created? When was this created? When did people start working on it and things like that? So it consumes a whole lot of data, and people kind of thought it would be the problem of it would be much more around the algorithm side, like, figuring how that is going to work. That's the easy part. You have so many models available, and Facebook has made their model available, so they're quite cheap. But the data is the part that is really difficult. And when you see the costing of these projects, it's mainly putting the data together and massaging the data together.
All right, so what are the 4 main areas of where AI actually is used today? The first one is to improve processes in your organization. It goes a little bit into automating, rapid process automation, a little bit intelligence there. The second one is to analyze data and business intelligence. This is a classic machine learning example. The third one is to improve the customer experience. That's what everybody is thinking of when you hear about AI. So Netflix is doing the personalized recommendation. Amazon is suggesting what you should buy next, and they are pretty accurate. And the fourth one is the employee productivity. For example, at ChatGPT, which can help you to create a management report much faster.
And sorry, do you want to take the joke?
No, not yet. Keep the joke. The first, actually, previously, only the first 3 were in focus. And interestingly, for example, the Scaled Agile Framework, which we know very well, added the employee productivity just with Safe 6. So I found that quite interesting. So that there is the list is growing, and this illustrates that this is just the tip of the iceberg, not a joke.
Yeah. So the little finger there, the extra finger, mind you, I don't want to make fun of the artificial intelligence, but the little finger is for the things that we don't know. It's just added to that in their endless wisdom. But mind you, and we kind of haven't kind of thought about, there are going to be different scenarios, but one of the interesting part is this of, how do you say, improving processes, and all of us being in an Agile conference, this is one of our passions of helping, how do you say, to improve, and this is actually to improve your processes is actually you already have that data from your organization. And you should be able to feed that to the algorithm. So where to start? Like David said, doing it in an agile way. These projects, they tend to be very uncertain because you keep on with, you start doing the data, you might have uncertain, like in the lizard talk, his name was Goiko. But he said like these happy surprises. You don't know exactly what you're going to get out of it because you might be finding some insight. But there are already quite a lot of frameworks or, how do you say, helping material. London School of Business, they have published few frameworks how to decide if you're going to buy the AI or are you going to, build it or buy it. Are you going to, does it make sense to use AI to solve this problem? It's a little bit like, we wouldn't use a pause to open a beer bottle. And yeah.
Yeah, and I would say if you really want to introduce AI, if you come from that angle, I've said that's not the preferred one, so you should have a use case first. But still, if you're thinking of the AI topic, try to get the use case to streamline the process, to see the customer journey which you want to optimize, some benefits in the product, and then have a close look of what the AI can contribute there, and if it can contribute, and what it might replace even. So it might replace some processes, it might replace some toolings which you have already today in place, or ideally some manual efforts.
I remember the point which I was going to make. Sorry, I messed up. The other thing is, a lot of these, they need to have a clear return of investment because they go in with quite a lot of investment before you, how do you say, get any tangible return of it. So hence, I say like focus on the operational data because there is always proof for improvement and the return on investment is going to be there. But as well, prioritizing or trying to prioritizing. I know this, once you start, you're not quite sure if you're going to get the results that you want, but there is trying to prioritize it in an agile fashion. And yeah.
Absolutely. So the next point is what we love to do, and where we also came into in these kind of transformations. We found out, of course, we value interactions and culture and all these topics. They are really crucial, especially when you have small teams or maybe few teams. But the more the organizations grow and the larger the teams get and the amount of teams get, the more important process and tooling to support that the more it gets important. And typically we try to model first, if you have more teams, to model the processes between the teams and support it with tooling. And that this one is working, there is one secret ingredient needed for work, and this is data. It needs to have harmonized data across the teams so that it can flow, so that the backbone actually is working, and that we don't have these small pipes coming here and there, and every pipe diameter is different, and at the end you can't get forward.
So, like David said, that is absolutely given. You have to be agile. You can have the best tools, but if you don't have the right culture and the right support from management and all of those things, that is not going to work for you. But one of the things that we're starting to see with these larger companies is these, how do you say, fragmented tooling vision. So different teams using different tooling. So you can imagine trying to consolidate that data into anything meaningful. And I'll show you this at the end of the. I said that we wouldn't have anything concrete, but I think the part how your data should look like, how you should be able to see it in real time across your whole organization. You shouldn't have to, pumping out data and massaging it and getting old data, which brings us to the millions.
Yeah. Millions of dollars. So this was in the US.
Yeah. So a company that we worked with. They wanted to be a data-driven company. This is a large American company. They do airplanes. They spoke about this, and they wanted to know. They said like, there's billion. And it's like, no, it's not that. But they started looking at what were the processes of getting the data. So they wanted to get data decisions for management. And they looked at the data, and the data was, on average, 3 weeks old. It has been sanitized twice, so you can imagine the configuration of this. And the roles that had been massaging the data on its way up and gathering the data from different tools, they calculated to be 100 million per year. They were just not spending time of creating airplanes or their core business. They were more massaging the data for management. And this is absolutely insane, because going back to the previous slide, where you can start having this on demand for real time across the organization.
Yeah, several more examples where business and that we also heard these talks before, where business and IT are not talking appropriately. So we were consulting one of the very big American insurances with that issue, and they found out that actually 1/3 of their tech budget was not aligned towards the strategic business goals. So everybody tried to do the right thing, had a good feeling that this is contributing towards the organization, but instead shadow IT and other things were built up in the back end, and it was not aligned to the business. So when they had this visibility, when they had the data, when they had a tag on every project, is it related to which business initiative? Suddenly they saw, okay, 1/3, 51 million of their tech budget was not aligned towards the business side. So there is a massive amount of savings potential in that. All right. 35,000 decisions. Every person takes 35,000 decisions every day. Let's assume we take half of those at work. That's 17,000. If you have a team, if you have 200 developers in your organization, imagine the amount of decisions you're taking every day. So what if you would have an AI which can support you with some of these decisions and make them more objective? Just think of the human error. You are in a bad mood, you didn't have a coffee, you don't like that other person, therefore you're taking a different decision, unconscious biases and other things. So what if an AI would be able to help you with some of those decisions? How much better would you get?
I very often wonder how many of these are wrong, But mind you, me coming from the Vikings, we used to believe everything was just done for a reason. So kind of. But I think about it, and if you, for example, just of reading about subconscious biases, we're all driven by this. It's actually a big part of our lives, and we're making these decisions a little bit like in the talk. When we start using the wrong words, it just starts aggravating people really quickly. And there's no reason, the cognitive function just goes down. But what if, this kind of comes to more of this, and what if you could be shown what is important? I think about it, we go through life, and the same thing is with our work life. What is the thing that is really important? What is the thing that you should be looking at? And all of us have missed part in these projects that we've done, and how do you say? And I truly believe the next slides that we're going to talk about, this is on the cusp of what is going to happen in the tooling. You're going to have this in your tools or assistants being able to see this. How do you say? Over the next year they will start coming out.
All right, planning. Centralized planning. Who of you knows what you did last Thursday, what you planned to do and what you actually did? It's really difficult for all of us to remember all these kind of things. And imagine that it's in a big organization, how you can keep track of what the organization as a whole is going to and what actually got implemented. So AI will play a huge role can play a huge role in the whole planning. We're talking here about cascading backlogs, not just across team, but also across products. So you can you need to be able to slice and dice the data in your organization towards those dimensions. And AI and tooling absolutely can help with that, so that you have these cascading backlogs, that you exactly know how the strategy aligns all the way down to the execution layer, from the business side all the way to the end user at the end.
I think the question that comes always to me, and I used to work as a RTE,
release train
or as
engineer.
an agile delivery engineer, of what I say, with teams of teams and doing this quarterly planning. And my thought was always like, what is the thing that we haven't seen? Is there something missing? And I thought of it of one of the things that we'll do is pre-planning. What is the thing how might it look like? If you would move one of these things, would it look like differently? After you've planned, have all of us, have we figured it out? Have we seen, is there something missing? And when you start having more brain power to help you to figure that out.
All right, continuous improvement is crucial for Agile. Who of you had a retrospective where you said, no, we are never going to do this ever again? And
I was part of a team where it was like, oh, we should have more cakes. That was the biggest improvement that we could do. We were on the world level. Yeah. Fun story about improvement. Does anyone know the history of British national team of bicycling? There used to be so much crap that they couldn't even get a sponsor to give them a bike before big competitions. They were just like, no, you will just kill the brand. If we give you this bike, you will kill it. So you can have the bike, but it can't be branded. So they got the guy, for the life of me, I can't remember his name, but he started doing this 1% improvements with the team. This is before the Beijing Olympics. They win the gold. And mind you, they hadn't won the gold in cycling for a very long time. I think it is even longer than the football. And they managed to win the gold. And this was just with a small 1% improvement.
Every iteration.
And with a consistency of keeping it on. Because if you think about it, if you do 1% this week, how much is going to benefit you in the next week and the week after? So, yeah. Like David said, the strategic execution, and this is where you start having these cascading backlogs. Is the thing right for management? Are we seeing it? Who has been in a project that has been just doomed? You're kind of working on something which doesn't align with the strategy, but you kind of know that it's the wrong strategy. So this is one of the things where it starts connecting this. When I was working as an agile delivery manager, my thing that I did most of was to hunt user stories. Well, what happened to this story? What happened to that story? There was so much time that just went into that. And so just being able to be told, how does it link together? And
you already were talking about the next slide with the doomed one. You took it. It's yours.
For anyone, that has worked on project, I worked on a project where I sincerely believed if we had taken half of the money and burned it in the parking lot, and then we've made more impact on anything. Because I worked on that project, I shut down the project 4 years later, and you can imagine we had teams of 30 people working on this for a few years. And we could have taken a fraction of the money and just gone to Florida for a year, and it would have made life so much better. And if you think about, and I said this about Google, competing with Google and those things, and if you think about it, they try to fail projects as early as possible. And it's not to figure out to fail. It's they don't have to go to this excruciating pain of 4 years to come to the end and say, oh, it didn't work. They just, if they figure it out, they can save this money. And I think everybody that has been in IT, has worked on these doomed initiatives. And,
I think to relate it back to our topic, the main point is that you need to have the data available, you need to have it fast, and you need to have it across your teams available to everybody. So that's the key to detect these kind of doomed initiatives early. Dependencies, we also have heard about dependencies in one of the previous talks. So to whom does such a dependency map make sense? To me, it doesn't really. So it's difficult. So it's difficult to visualize it. It's difficult to get track on it. But there are dependencies. There are dependencies across the products, across the teams, and across the organization. And if you have the right data to identify it early, to put it in some tool into the pipeline, to visualize it, to make it transparent to everybody, then you're way ahead of the others.
If you think about dependencies, wherever you have team of teams, complex code structure, you will have dependencies. There are 2 ways to solve it. Either moving the teams or the people, or move the code. So break the code down. And mind you, if you think about the microservices and things like that, that's one of the steps of trying to diffuse this. But you're not getting any dependency mapping if you think about it. So if we move you over to this team for a half a day, in a sprint, we actually could eliminate 25% of the dependencies. Just of getting that, and imagine competing with someone that doesn't have a dependency, how fast they can move. And so I think with dependencies of where you start having the data, and this is absolutely crucial, where you have the commits that you have. Where is it going in the code? What part of the code is everybody using? Which takes us to the next slide, which is
Frikkx's home. So that's basically the data crap most of the organizations have. And imagine the risk of doing AI based on such data. So just making a tea in such a kitchen, most probably it's going to fail. So you need to do your homework first. You need to get that data in the right shape and to get the visibility before starting even with AI initiatives.
So mind you, I used to use this slide to explain technical debt, and that was about how do you make tea here without breaking anything. But if you think about it, if you take this to AI and say, can you give me a prediction? It's probably, it's going to be crap in 3 months and probably in 6 months as well. And it's the whole part of this of getting your being AI ready, being able to compete with this, is to start getting your data in order. And they've started a little bit, they've started putting it into containers, but And automatically, once you have the processes and the culture in place and the tooling, this starts falling in place, which takes us to So if you think about it, you should be able to look at your data across your people hierarchy. The people hierarchy is the organization hierarchy, all the way up, or departments, or whatever you want to say. You could call it whatever you want, organization hierarchy or whatever. Products, what are the products that you are delivering? And seeing it all the way down to components. sub-products, components. And then investment. Investment is, you could call it work item hierarchy or whatever.
Feature backlog.
Sorry.
Feature backlog and...
Yeah, so this is your large investment that go all the way down to stories and where you start getting the information back. So being able to see this in real time across your whole organization, across all teams, this is the goal.
Who has that? It's a tricky one. All right, as we are nearly at the last slide, and just imagine there is research that data-driven organizations grow at an average of 30% a year. There's recent research that data-driven organizations have an 86 times higher probability of acquiring customers than others. And now imagine with a regular organization which is not data-driven, how to compete against those. How to compete against an organization which is 86 times more probable to acquire a new customer. Imagine the effort necessary to convince the customer to go with you. Or there's also the other way around, if you look at it from the different perspective. Imagine if you are that data-driven company, which has it so much easier to acquire customers, to have those insights, to know where the market is going, where your products are going, and where your data is.
Yeah, I think I would say just the last of it. Imagine of working for the company that has this. You know, it's really nice. Anyone that's been in sports, being on the winning team, it makes the mentality completely different. And I think one of the things we're going to start seeing is where the organizations are going to start pushing or being AI ready, and it's already when they're like, oh, we need to get these insights. And just about to say the previous slide that I showed you, imagine the company that has this, being able to see whom should we help, who are the teams that we can learn from, where should we transfer the knowledge over to, and so forth. And that's it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Dankeschön. Dankeschön. Inspect and adapt bedeutet auch inspect, also man braucht die Data. We need the data. Switching to German again. Good, we have some minutes left, so if there are any questions in the room, then...
Or not, no.
Or if you want to sing the song from the start.
Yeah.
So hello. We've heard in the previous talk that change management is very important when you're going agile. And from my experience, one main point is psychological barriers in such case. I have the impression that it is easier for managers, for people to hand over decision-making to AI than to other people. Why do you think is this so?
Sorry, the last part I didn't quite...
From my experience, it's more easier for people to hand over decision-making to AI rather than to other persons. Why is this so?
So interestingly enough, you have processes, and as soon as you start talking about AI, you start talking about ethics. And how do you say? And I think the biggest, let me go the long way around. The biggest threat of AI is our political system, and our politicians are not ready to support this. But if you think about it, there are framework where they talk about it. Regarding some decisions, you need a human overview. And there are, for example, if you think about getting a bank loan, would you be more comfortable of getting, AI to make a decision on it, or a human? Or, your medical data. So I think there will always be a balance of this. And we're still, struggling, for example, with the professionals where they are, for example, judges. They are quite like, oh, I don't want to hand this over, I want to supervise this. But where you start seeing, for example, with judges, there was a study where judges just before lunch, the sentences, they started to be harsher and things like that. So I think with culture, and as we move forward, we will start being able to do this, or saying like, oh, I'm happy with AI to make a decision, or can I appeal it to a person?
I would not even go that route. So this is to take these decisions every day. The 35,000, we are far from that. The simple ones maybe, but we should treat it in a similar way as it's done in medicine. So all the medical software, it's not making a decision for the doctor. It's preparing a decision and a reasoning why it comes to that thing. But ultimately, the decision is still taken by the doctor. And I think here it is the same thing. The AI will not decide if we are going for this feature or for this feature or which one and so on. But it can help us to prioritize based on the information it has. There are still humans needed in software development.
Just as the last, sorry, not that I have to have the last word, but if you look at how Tesla work, and if you look at Joe Justice on YouTube, a lot of the managerial decisions, they are done by AI. And the funny fact about Tesla is a lot of the land that has been bought by Tesla has been bought by an employee that just said, like, I'm going to expense it because the AI said, oh, it's a great idea. Just keep on going with it. So they are happy with handing it over. And how do you say? Of course, there's a process of looking at, are we making the right decisions? But there's always human involved. So, yeah. Any other questions? No. Not everybody at the same time. Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.